that's one of the communities that will be adversely affected if this particular segment, the David to Mont Desir segment of the highway, is constructed. And with regard to the Armstrong report, I think we are all familiar with the contents of that document. But I want to say that the Armstrong report, but I will still go through the recommendations. It is such a valuable document produced by 19 independent, and that's very important to take note of, that it's independent experts in fields all relevant to this particular project. And coming out of that report, the James Armstrong report, is a 264-page document with 10 recommendations. And the recommendations said to stop all works for the David to Mont Desir segment of the highway and carry out a number of substantive studies in order to determine the feasibility of this particular segment of the highway. It emphasized the need for a hydrological study, which is absolutely essential because this particular segment of the highway is passing through the Urpuch Lagoon. Now, on the news, government ministers are saying it's skirting the Urpuch Lagoon. That is not correct, because okay. So one of the points that they're saying is skirting the Urpuch Lagoon, but that is not correct. Because the Urpuch Lagoon extends all the way beyond what we see on the map. If you look at the map of Trinidad, you will see a blue area, and it says it represents the Urpuch Lagoon. But the truth is, if you live in that area, if you're familiar with the rivers and how they flow into the area, you would know that the Urpuch Lagoon extends far beyond that, into the area called Barrackpore and Puck Road and Davie and all the way down to St. John Trace Avocat. I know all these place names will be a bit abstract because I don't have a map with me. But this is the fact of the matter. So a hydrological study is absolutely essential before carrying out a project like this. The Armstrong report also reiterates the need for a cost-benefit analysis. We do not know the costs for this project. It hasn't been costed. And they haven't done any kind of study to show that the so-called benefits far outweigh the costs, because they claim that the benefits of this highway, this particular segment, are far greater than the cost of it, or the disadvantages of it. But they have no evidence to show that, because they have not done the studies to show that. Yes? And of course, the need for a social impact assessment. This highway threatens to fragment 13 communities between Davie and Mont Desir. It threatens to separate communities, to separate families, to destroy places of worship. And they have not done studies to determine how this is going to impact on the lives of people, how it's going to impact on the lives of the elderly, of women, of children, of young people, young professionals like myself. And yet they insist that they're going to go ahead and build this particular segment of the highway. The Armstrong report is a scientific document. It is strong evidence-based. As I said, it's independent, it's objective, and it is the authority for this project. And that is what all of us, we all need to refer to. It is a document of science. It is a landmark document. It's a valuable document. And any government who claims to strive for good governance and the principles of good governance, accountability, transparency, integrity, you would think they would want to abide by documents like these. Yeah? In addition, we are here this evening because we are saying yes to mediation. We are saying yes to mediation. We are saying yes to mediation. All right. Now, on this map, all of you all would not be able to see because we have people behind us, but the ReRoute movement is in full support of the San Fernando to Point Fortin highway, which runs along the creek, the Mosquito Creek. We are in full support of that highway. We don't want to stop that highway. The people of Point Fortin have been clamoring for a highway for the past 50 years. They need their highway. We are in full support of the Golconda to Derby segment of the highway. We are in, let me just show you, that's San Fernando, coming all the way here. This area is called Mont Desir, and this is Point Fortin. We are in full support of this segment of the highway. If you look here, this is another leg of the highway, and it comes from Golconda through to Derby, Pinal, Faizabad, Mont Desir, and Point Fortin. So if you look here, it's as if, well, it's really two highways to Point Fortin, isn't it? It's two highways to Point Fortin. We are not happy. We are not in support of this segment from Derby to Mont Desir because of how destructive it's going to be for that area. And we are saying that a highway is completely unnecessary. It's a wasteful use of our resources and taxpayers' dollars. It is destructive not just to the communities Derby to Mont Desir, but it's going to adversely impact on our country in terms of ecologically, economically, socially, and financially. To build this particular segment of the highway, 1.4 million tons of aggregate will be quarried from our northern range. Did we know that? Many of us don't know that. The flooding that's going on in the north, from the west, Diego Martin and Glencoe and all these areas coming all the way, even all the way the east-west corridor down to the east, the kind of flooding we've seen in Grandy and all these places. It's because we are destroying our northern range. So for that particular segment, 1.4 million tons of aggregate will be used to build that 9 miles of highway. It's a 4-lane highway that the government proposes and intends to build. It's going to be on an 8-foot embankment, because remember they're building this on low-lying land in a lagoon. So they need to build it up on an embankment of 8 feet so the highway doesn't flood. But what's going to happen to the people who live around it? They would be flooded out. So in terms of the off-site impact of this highway project, it is going to be so destructive to the northern range, and we know all the impacts of that. The impact of flooding, and even in recent years we had loss of lives in that area. Now, the ReRoute movement, we are saying yes to mediation. We are calling on the Prime Minister to engage in mediation with Dr. Kublal Singh and the ReRoute movement to bring some kind of a resolution, and we believe that this proposal will result in a win-win situation. We are saying yes to mediation. Dr. Kublal Singh is saying yes to mediation. We are calling on the Prime Minister to engage in mediation, to bring resolution to this issue, this long-standing contentious issue which has been going on for 9 years. It started in 2005. Let me also remind you that in 2012, in March of 2012, I was in this meeting, so I know for a fact, in March of 2012, March the 16th, we had a meeting with the Prime Minister at the Parliamentary Building, Waterfront Complex, and she made a promise to put on hold the Debe to Mondesir Highway and to review the Debe to Mondesir Highway. We are here today because that promise was broken. Dr. Kublal Singh's life is on the line because that promise was broken. And we cannot just sit back and look on. We need to stand up and speak out and say no to that. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Shireen.